Hey guys, thanks for coming back. Join us here at Salty Ginger Talk. Glad to have you back. So, today's episode, we're going to talk about a little trick that I have used for a long time in my life. And when I've shared this with other folks, they've expressed that it works for them as well. And I call it thinking opposite. And so, what I mean by that is, we all go through periods of time where things seem to be going good or when things don't seem to be going so good. When things seem to happen well without much effort, enjoy it as long as you can because you know it's not going to last. Life is tough, et cetera, et cetera. And when things are going good, enjoy those periods of time. It's nice when they happen. They don't happen a lot, but when they do happen, you should enjoy them because it's pretty awesome when they do. And then there are periods of time where things are difficult. It seems like every time you turn around, you get stuck a little deeper in the mud. It's kind of like quicksand, where if you, speaking of which, I thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem when I was a kid. You heard all this stuff about quicksand. I've never once experienced quicksand, but mentally, I've experienced quicksand a lot. And that's actually what kind of motivated me to do this episode is that, I try to be introspective and say, hey, how am I doing on stuff? Am I accomplishing what I should be accomplishing? Am I pushing myself to get better, et cetera, et cetera? And I kind of look at my life and I feel like I've got a lot of downtime in my life, unproductive time. And I don't mean jamming my schedule up with a bunch of stuff. And, if you get your every minute of your day planned, you got to lighten that thing up a little bit. But there shouldn't be big periods of time where you're not being productive, not doing anything. And productivity means a lot of different things. You could be working on self improvement. That's just as important as being professionally productive or making money or improving your career, whatever. Like your mental health is important, your physical health is important. All of those are things that can use your time and attention. And if you're just doing a lot of mindless activities, you got to look at that and correct it. And that's kind of where I was. I looked at it and said, hey, I could be better than I am right now. And that's what made me think about this trick that I've used and kind of pull it out and dust it off and share it with you guys. So when things are difficult, you seem to get stuck in the mud, a good way to approach it is to think the opposite of whatever is dragging you down. And so, what do I mean by that? What does the opposite mean? So, generally, when you think about um, when you're having problems, they either tend to be big problems that kind of weigh on you. You have a health problem, someone you care about has a health problem, your relationship is struggling, uh, things aren't going well at work, the company you work for is struggling, big things that can really have a significant impact on your life. And, it's important to acknowledge those things. It's important not to deny that they exist, but you have to find ways of compartmentalizing that stuff and dealing with um, your mental approach to those situations. And so what I say is when all of the big things or a big thing or multiple big things are weighing on you, think about all the little stuff that's good in your life because it'll take your mind off of that challenge and say, hey, things aren't all terrible. I've got some good stuff in my life. So what I mean by that, and I mean little things. So a beautiful sunrise or a beautiful sunset. Um, when you think about just kind of the awesomeness of watching the sun come up or the sun go down, it kind of has a way of just kind of recentering you and focusing you and saying, hey, I'm a pretty small part of a much, much bigger thing. And it's pretty awesome that we get to experience those things. Natural beauty, I've talked about it a lot. Going out for a walk, getting yourself outside. Things like, I live on the East Coast now, so there's not mountains out here. People like to call things mountains, but they're not mountains. I'm from the West Coast where mountains are 12, 13, 14,000 feet high. If you're around mountains, they just, there's something about them that's calming and soothing and just makes you feel good about being in the mountains. Appreciate those things. Rivers, trees, flowers, parks, anytime you can get out in nature, it's a good thing. And appreciate that. Enjoy it. Like truly be in the moment, just experience the sounds, the breeze on your face, the sunlight on your skin. It'll help you. It'll help you kind of recenter and refocus and say, hey, going through a tough time. It's not going to last. I'm tougher than this time. I'm going to make it through it. But those little things can help you kind of work your way through it. My favorite book, podcast, or TV show, right? It's good to enjoy those things. It's good to think, hey, that was really funny. I enjoyed when I read that. It made me think differently. It entertained me, whatever the case may be. Those are little things that you can enjoy. Same by the same token, a funny joke or a comedian that you saw. Those are good things. Just kind of replay those in your mind, and it'll help you get your mind off of the big hairy stuff that seems to be weighing on you and refocus on better things, smaller things, to really kind of drive home the point that things aren't so bad. Things could be a lot worse. Same thing about memories. A good memory from your child, a good memory from a trip that you took, a good memory from time you spent with family and friends. Any of those things are good things to replay in your head. You know, you had a great time at X, wherever X is. Maybe it was camping. Maybe you went to Disneyland. Maybe you went and saw a show. Maybe you took a cruise. I don't know what it is, but you know what it is. Replay that stuff in your mind and think about how awesome that was. And, you know, there's more times like that coming if you just fight through what you got going on right now. It'll help you refocus. It helps me refocus at least. A well prepared, delicious meal. Like, that's a great, you go back in history and you think about how things used to be celebrated with feasts and festivals, carnivals, fairs. We do meals on holidays. Meals are a great way to kind of show appreciation for what's going on in your life and spend it with people that you care about. Think back on those times or make yourself a meal. Like, say, hey, I'm going to go get a really good cut of steak and I'm going to get really high quality vegetables and a really high quality dessert. I'm not going to go crazy, but I'm going to enjoy a really good meal. That's a good way to get yourself out of that rut as well. And maybe a fun experience you had on your own. I'm 52 and I spend a lot of time on my own, and I like my alone time so I can think and focus and kind of improve myself and get better. All of those are things you can use to get your mind off of what you consider big problems, or they might be big problems or big heavy things that are weighing on you. Think about those little things. It'll help you kind of change your thought process and change your mind as you work your way through it. And then the opposite of that would be when a bunch of little stuff is just irritating you, right? It's not big stuff, it's little stuff. I put some examples in here. Slow Wi Fi. I don't know why slow Wi Fi is so irritating, but we all know that it is. Missing traffic lights, right? Why is it so irritating that you have to sit at a light for 45 seconds or a minute or whatever it is? But I know that it is. Sitting down, getting comfortable, and leaving your remote on the other side of the room, right? Those things are just irritating. Maybe you've got a garbage can where the lid doesn't close right and you got to wrestle with it every once in a while. That's annoying. But it's not a big thing, it's a little thing. And sometimes all those little things, we can get in the woe is me. This sucks. I hate this. I have to deal with that, et cetera, et cetera. And they're not big things. They're little things when you think about it. When you find yourself in that mood or that thought process and you got to shake yourself out of it, do the opposite. Think about all the great things you do have in your life that are way bigger and more important than those little irritating things and things you should be grateful for, and spend some time being grateful. Your health. That's the first one, right? Let's assume that you're healthy. If you're healthy, you can move around. You don't have any serious physical challenges. You should be thankful for that. There's a lot of people that don't have that. And it's a big thing, and you don't appreciate it until it becomes a challenge for you. And you should appreciate that. Be grateful for that. Get your mind off the little stuff and think, hey, it could be a lot worse. Your spouse, your partner. I'm very fortunate that I've been married to my wife for 30 plus years, and we've had a great relationship and have been very happy with each other the vast majority of that time. I'm thankful for that a lot. Now, it wasn't a mistake that I married my wife, and it wasn't a mistake that she married me. We're a great fit for each other, and I'm thankful and grateful for that. And I try to show my gratitude and appreciation to her on a regular basis, so she knows I appreciate that. I always say that if anything ever happened to her, I would never ever get married again. Not because I don't like marriage, the exact opposite. I've had it so good for so long, I wouldn't want to enter another relationship like that because I would just be comparing it to the one I've been in for 30 plus years. And like, I'm on house money at this point. Most people don't get to experience the great relationships like I've experienced. And I'm very grateful for it. And it's something I use to focus on when things are tough and say, hey, could be a lot worse. I could not have this awesome person that I'm going through life with. Think about that and refocus yourself. Same thing on your kids, same thing on your family. You've got people who think the sun rises and sets because of you, who count on you, who care about you, who have your back through thick and thin. A lot of people don't have that, and you do have that. You have it somewhere. It could be a friend, it could be your child, could be a family member, whatever. Whoever it is that's important in your life, be grateful that you have that person or those people in your life. I'm fortunate that I have several people like that in my life that I know I can always count on. Even if we're not always seeing the world the same way at the same time, I know that if the chips are down and the stakes are high, I can count on those people. And it's something to be truly grateful for. And it's a great way to pull your mind kind of out of, oh, poor me, this little tiny stuff, and worrying about those things. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. It's the bigger things that truly matter in life. And it's a good way to refocus yourself when you find yourself in one of those kind of shitty attitudes. And then the last thing I listed here is being born at the best time in human history. It's funny, we were talking about, my wife and I were talking about this. One of our kids went to a Renaissance festival recently, and she was talking about it being fun. And I said, the thing about it is people don't think about like what life would have been like in those periods of time. And it's cool and it's fun to revisit. Totally got it. Not saying that. But think about it. Think about the things that didn't exist back in the medieval times, right? There's no ice, there's no refrigeration, there's no toothbrush. You took a bath once a month, once every 6 months. Disease ran rampant. If you got injured, there was no medical care. Nobody knew how the hell any of that stuff worked. If your kids left to go seek fortune or go out for another life, there was no way to communicate with them. You had to physically go see them to talk to them. Like, it was a tough life back in the day, and we're so fortunate to have been born when we were born. I don't think a lot of us really take the time to truly appreciate that on a regular basis. And in my mind, it's a great thing to focus on, to say, hey, it could be a lot worse. I could be going through these problems I'm going through 500 years ago, and that would have really sucked. It would have been really terrible. Um, so, being born at the best time in human history, don't sleep on that fact. We're all pretty lucky to be around when we are. You get to hear what we're talking about here. You have so many choices, so many options, so many things available to you, and it's because you were born when you were born. And it's pretty awesome when you stop and think about it. And I think we should stop and think about it and be grateful for it more than we are. So, if you can refocus your brain whether it's big stuff weighing on you, refocus your brain on small things to be grateful for, or when a bunch of little things are irritating you or bothering you, refocus your brain on big things to be grateful and thankful for. It's a good way to think. It's a good way to kind of trick your brain out of the rut that you're in. It'll help you get on a better path. So it's helped me a lot in my life. I wanted to share it with you guys because I do think it's useful. So that's our conversation for today. Really appreciate you guys coming back and checking us out here at Salty Ginger Talk. Don't forget to go to our website, saltygingertalk.com. We've got all of our podcast episodes on there. Our newsletters are on there, and you can find any of our content on there as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on whatever medium you consume our content on. So really appreciate you guys coming back and checking us out. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you next time.